Alright, what's up, guys? It feels like I haven't, or we haven't talked for a while, rather. So, I kind of wanted to talk about this idea that I've been obsessing over lately. And that idea is short term pain. Now, obviously, this is just a stem of a much larger idea, which is that short term pain will bring you long term gain. Okay, so what's the main idea here, and why am I so obsessed with it? In a nutshell, the idea of self improvement, I would say, is fairly straightforward. Do things that are difficult, learn from them, and become a better person. And I think this goes without saying, the harder you work, the better you become. Which I think all of us, to a certain extent, can at least agree upon. However, I've come across a few people recently that had this different perspective when it comes to hard work. Now, I'm not trying to disparage them or poke fun of their ideas at what hard work is, but I found it very interesting how differently we view this topic. So their idea was this: I don't work hard, I work smart. I don't necessarily have a problem with trying to work smart if your goal is efficiency, but I do have a problem with not working hard. You need to be very careful that your avoidance of difficulty isn't laziness in disguise. This is probably the most prevalent when it comes to health and fitness. Now, for example, I used to be into this whole line of thinking a few years ago when I thought that I needed to work out smarter rather than harder. And I thought that if I had some type of optimal workout routine from some type of professional bodybuilder, then that is what would get me the results I had been searching for. But in reality, what I was really doing was trying to find some kind of hack or shortcut to success that I could use to avoid lifting the heavy weights. It's sort of like asking yourself, what is the secret to getting a six-pack? How many reps or exercises do you need, and what kind of protein powder or supplement should I buy? That kind of stuff. And instead of wasting your time on all the small details and minutiae of fitness, the real answer is right in front of you. Find a weight that's heavy and pick it up. It's really that simple, because at the end of the day, the biggest hurdle for us regular people is just finding the self-motivation to do the hard work. But it's that hard work that will get you the real results. So this is kind of where my interest in short-term pain came from. And I think this is what my self-development journey is all about. It's showing you guys in these videos I create a way in which I live my life. Now, I don't believe that I'm always right or that I somehow have all the answers, because I don't. Nobody does, and it would be foolish to think otherwise. But there are certain things in life, like pain, struggle, reflection, and growth, that I think are extremely important for our existence. These are ideas that I believe in, and whether you agree with me or not, the most important thing is finding out where they lead. Now let's go back to this idea of short-term pain for long-term gain. The question you have to ask yourself is, am I willing to sacrifice today for a greater tomorrow? The main idea here is that if you look at anyone in the world that is super successful, for example, they're usually able to say yes to the things that don't reward them in the present moment, but will pay them dividends in the future. And this isn't exclusive to just your workouts. It could be making the decision to invest your money and save it instead of spending it on a brand new car, for example. Or staying home on a Friday night to study when you know that your friends are going out to party. In that moment, it's extremely difficult to say no to those things that give you immediate pleasure. But you need to have the courage and discipline to say no to those things that you know will hurt you long term. It's saying no to the chocolate, pizza, and donuts, saying no to the late nights, and yes to the early mornings. And it's incredibly difficult to do that, it is. Now, I struggle with these decisions every day of my life, even though I'm very self-aware and mindful of the decisions I make. There are times where my mind just wants me to eat that cookie. It persuades me that, oh, it's just one cookie, it doesn't hurt. But it does hurt. And if you allow yourself to give into that mindset of just this one time, then you'll start using that excuse for other things as well. I'll skip today's workout, I can make up for it tomorrow. Or I'm gonna go shopping, I'll save when I get next week's paycheck. This is the mindset that successful people avoid at all costs, and they're able to achieve great things in life because they're willing to delay gratification. Now, of course, there is a problem here when it comes to practicality versus productivity. I don't believe it's reasonable or even worth living a life that's solely focused on optimizing every little decision we make. It's like having this weight on our shoulders that we don't need, and it all just ends up being way too much. But in the grand scheme of things, I think if we choose the difficult option more often than the comfortable one, then we are setting ourselves up for a more prosperous life in the long run. Okay, so I don't really know how to put this, but I want to give you some examples of short-term pain that I follow on a regular basis. Now, I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that these are the things that I do intentionally, which suck. Probably the most annoying still to this day is taking cold showers, especially now that it's winter and I live in Canada, so that kind of sucks because it's always cold. But I think my discovery of cold showers a few years ago is what really kickstarted this obsession with wanting to do difficult things. And what I've noticed is that you kind of set a bar for yourself. It's like a level of difficulty that you know you can endure. So taking a cold shower is probably at the top end of that spectrum, and at the lower end would be something simple like taking out the trash, choosing to drink water instead of Coke, or walking up the stairs when you can take an elevator, for example. These are all forms of short-term pain that give me minor discomfort, so they've become very easy to do and I don't really have to think about it. I do feel, however, that the true value in this exercise is to go after the things that brings you the most discomfort. As a society, I think we've reached this point where all of our instinctual basic needs are met. And I know that the pandemic has thrown a monkey wrench into all of this and everything has completely changed. But if you were to go back just a year from today, we were living in a time of great abundance. Everything was so comfortable and easy that you could, on any given day, wake up and sit in your car to go to work, pick up breakfast along the way from a McDonald's drive-thru, sit at your desk in front of a computer screen all day, get back in your car and sit during the drive home, and then sit on your couch and watch Netflix all night after a hard day's work. This might not be a typical workday for everyone, but for a lot of people, including myself, this was life. And it was this ultra-safe, super comfortable life that made me feel weak. It's really hard to admit sometimes, but I was a weak human being, both mentally and physically. And that's just the facts. There would literally be days where I'd check my Fitbit before going to bed, and I had walked maybe like 2,000 total steps for the day. That just completely blew my mind at how much little physical effort was required for me to make it through a productive day at work. You could spend an entire day where 90% of your physical being was spent sitting down, immobile, not moving. And that's crazy. Now, I'm going to assume that if you're watching this video, then you have an interest in some form of self-development. Whether that improvement is in the physical, mental, or spiritual, it doesn't really matter. The main problem that seems to arise for most people is figuring out how to start. So here's my solution to this problem. Become obsessed with the difficult and move towards it. Sometimes it's simply not enough to just want a desired outcome or a singular goal. And that is what's so messy about life. We all have the potential to climb the highest mountain and reach the summit. But which path are you going to take? The difficult, rocky path that's full of obstacles, discomfort, and unknowns? Or the safe path of 2,000 steps? Ultimately, that decision is up to you. But I think the most important thing about all this self-development kind of stuff is that we need to get rid of this idea of searching for the one secret that will change your life. Because it doesn't exist. It's just a fabrication. And instead, be intentional with your choices. Go after the things that you know will better your life in the long run. And if you ever find yourself in a place where you're lacking motivation, just remember that pain today for success tomorrow, courage today for pride tomorrow, sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. I just wanted to quickly say thank you for watching the video up to this point, and for all the wonderful comments you guys have been leaving for me recently, as the channel has seen a small little uptick in growth, and that's really exciting for me. Now, moving forward, I do still have a lot of future videos planned centered around, doing difficult things and documenting my journey. But one of those things I've been thinking deeply about is this YouTube channel as compared to my podcast, which I just started. Now, in these YouTube videos, I can quickly edit and cut out my mistakes, and I can think deeply about my subjects beforehand. But during a podcast, there's no real room for that. And if you mess up or you misspeak about something, it's just out there in the open. And I kind of like that, but also don't like that. So I think it's kind of a good thing for me to learn. So I have started a podcast. It's called the Bearsy Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, um, Google, Apple, whatever, all the the normal podcast apps. And I do have a YouTube channel for it right now. Another thing I just wanted to quickly say, this is an open invitation for anyone that would like to be on the podcast. Now, I don't really have a specific criteria of a person I'm looking for. You don't necessarily have to be a content creator like myself. I kind of just like talking to people that are obsessed with any type of topic, really. Like, even if you're just obsessed with like amphibians or turtles or fish or something weird. Like, I like talking to people that are obsessed about things, and this is just an open invitation if you are, someone that would like to try doing a podcast, or you feel like you could, bring some value to the community. So if that's something that interests you, just leave a comment below with some type of, I don't know, some type of emoticon or emoji or something. So it'll grab my attention and I'll reach out to you. And I think that's pretty much it. So we'll see what happens in the future, and thanks for watching.